Hello dear friends, this is Adam, and today I want to talk to you guys about a topic that is very dear to my heart, and it is spiritual awakening, or rather how it's misconceived in the spiritual community. Um, a lot of people on the planet are waking up right now to their divine self and all of that, and find all of these beautiful things out about reality and how everything is love and light and everything. And that's a beautiful thing for sure. It's nice that people are waking up their minds. But what we're actually neglecting on our way, and what I see is causing a lot of suffering within the spiritual community, is actually integrating that knowledge into our feelings and coming more into our heart, which is the ultimate goal of spirituality. It's not changing our beliefs necessarily, um, or awakening the mind somehow. Although that has its part, it's part of the process. But the goal is ultimately to awaken your heart and your emotions and to be happy. This is why we started it. We were unhappy. We had terrible lives sometimes, painful experiences. People wouldn't understand us. We wouldn't understand ourselves. So now we understand ourselves and we understand what's wrong with the world, but still we find ourselves getting trapped in negativity and sadness. And some of the most positive people that I know, that seem the most happy, that have an amazing life and everything, deep down inside they're still sad, and it makes me kind of sad to see that, because I think every one of us deserves to be happy. It's just sometimes, we get wrapped up in our mind and too much thinking, but it's actually not too much thinking, but let me just jump into the topic. So, we know how we have to live our lives, and we know everything, so there's no problem with our knowledge as it goes so far. But emotions and integrating our knowledge is what is key, because we don't only want to know the thing, we actually want to embody it, and then we can get all the benefits and change our lives and do all of this amazing stuff and just live in total happiness. I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to someone there who really has that dream. Like, sometimes you ask yourself, like, when does it stop? Like, bad things happen and we learn from them, and then we're okay for a few days, and then something happens again that upsets us and makes us fearful. And even though our vibration is high right now, it's still not where we are able to settle in. Like, that home feeling, Many people talk of we all want to go home and stuff. This is what I'm talking about, like really being settled into your own being and being completely satisfied with where you are in life, and feeling that really, like feeling really happy and loved, in that core, the inner child. So how do we heal that core? Or rather, what is preventing us from living inside of that core, that emotional home where we feel good and everything is okay and we can take on life's challenges easily? Because sometimes you're like thinking 5 hours about a problem and you don't find a solution for it, but then you snap out of your mind for 1 minute and then you realize, oh my god, it was all good. The only problem was me worrying about it. That was literally the only bad thing. So yeah, what's actually preventing the mind from seeing what it's actually doing? So here's the belief. The belief is, once we step out of our mind and can stop thinking and be in the being, then we are happy, right? Like, this is what most spiritual teachings are leading up to, and this is the core point, like being in the being and accepting and everything, and coming out of thinking and mind and rationality. So what then happens, what people think is, oh, okay, now I will take this belief, and then they hold it in their brain, in their mind. And the problem is they hold it as a belief, and they think they are in the being, because all they think about is being and love and whatever. And we cannot really think ourselves into being, because it's the opposite. Like, thinking is doing something. You're actively doing something with your mind. And what we want to come to is stillness. And rather stop doing something. So the misconception is then that people try to do it. See, like it's, you know how sometimes things are easy and hard at the same time? Because for the mind, it's impossible to be. Because the mind is thoughts. So the only way for us to be, really, is to know that we are. From thinking to being is not really a step. It's just that we get unsatisfied, and then we think we are not in the being, because the mind is, working, thinking, and it just distracts us from being and puts our attention on problems that really could be solved in a different way, or it's not the time for them, like you worry about, what am I gonna do when I'm 70 years old and and the economy is collapsed and I won't have any money? Like, you cannot really do anything about it now. Or we think about something in the past. So what the spiritual person then does, the average one, is then judge himself for thinking too much, which is just more thought. Like, it's an endless cycle, and you can do that. Like, you can think until the end of your life, but the being is where we ultimately want to arrive to, and actually loving ourselves and experiencing love, because we just want to be happy. If you would be happy and your mind is still, thinking, there's no problem about it, and this is what it ultimately is. Like in meditation, we always get told, stop thinking, but that's just thoughts, and it's only when people convince themselves of, oh, I'm not thinking, then they say, oh, the meditation was amazing, I was in my heart, and then they really experience that, like, and there's no problem about that. The problem is that we think that we can stop thinking, and we don't allow ourselves to settle and to relax, and we don't allow the mind to relax before it stops thinking. So if you would translate this to the physical world, it's basically you saying, I want to relax my arm, and you do this. And you tell it, relax! It's a fight against yourself that you can never win, because you cannot win against yourself. You are one thing. You cannot fight against yourself to begin with, but this is what you're trying. You're trying to fight with yourself, which is of course a battle you cannot win, and you cannot even start it. So, the solution to this is really easy, people, and it's only, you are already completely in your heart. It's that easy. Watch how immediately a thought comes in and tries to say like, oh, but I'm still thinking. And then you're like, oh my god, that was a thought. And then it tries to pull you back, and then you think like, oh my god, now it's gonna become that thought loop again. And then, and then you get lost again in it. But nothing can pull you out of being. It's not possible. So in the end, it's not an overactive mind that pulls us out of the heart, the being side. It's just fear of being sucked out of your heart. I mean, that can be quite terrifying. Imagine your inner child would experience the world in a way that the world takes it out of its own body and its own emotions. This is basically death. So this is kind of a fear of death. We think we can come out of our being somehow. Like the mind can take us and do whatever it wants with us. But it's not like that. The mind cannot do that. It's you who does it. It's you who follows it, who perpetuates it, who is afraid of it, and it's you who can stop it. And don't think it's hard. If you think it's hard, you're never going to get there. If you say to yourself, it's easy, or it is actually easy, don't try to say that to yourself. Just relax. Relax. And let it be. So when the mind comes in then again, and thoughts arise, and fears arise, or whatever, just know it's all good, and it's going to pass. And then it's going to be much more okay at the moment with that actually happening. Like thoughts are still going to come, and fear is still going to arise, because you just found out about this. You just found out that you are actually enlightened the whole time, and the only reason why you didn't experience it was because you thought it was different. So when the mind comes, let it come. Just know that you are staying, and that you cannot go, it cannot drag you, and even if it does, go for a ride. Yeah? Look if it's really that bad, or if you were making it so bad in your head. So what you establish then is like a base for yourself. Because as soon as the mind washes over you and seems to be dragging you along, in the end you realize, oh, I'm still here. I still am. I'm still existing. I'm still in the being. And mind could not take that away from me. I still have my feelings, I still have my heart. And after everything is over, I'm still happy. So it couldn't hurt you. And what we call heart is actually just trust. So forget practicing mindfulness and meditation and all of that, and breathing exercises and everything. While that is a good practice, if you don't understand the core of it and what it's trying to teach you, it's going to take you long time, people, to realize that. It took me a long ass time to realize what illusion I got myself into, which was the one that I have to advance somehow in order to be in my heart and to experience beauty every day. Every day, people, you can experience real beauty, real love, and you can live in that state. All these spiritual warriors that want to get over that trauma and shit, and then keep provoking it and keep thinking negatively because they think it's gonna make them more spiritually advanced or some shit. Can't we just be okay with the way we are? That's what we want. That's actually what we want. We just want to be okay with ourselves. So yeah, this is the one of the biggest illusions within spiritual work, and people don't forget this, or rather, forget everything. Forget everything you know about how you have to evolve spiritually and how you have to advance or whatever, and forget. Just forget. It's not important. It's not important what your mind says. It can say whatever it wants to. Your heart is stronger. It is.